Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of IP&O From Home. We are, of course, as always, live from the couch in my room. Today, we have a special guest, Dr. Lou Galliano, who is a periodontist in New Jersey and is also a Rutgers / UMDNJ alum. So, hey, Dr. Lou, thank you for joining with us today.
No problem.
Welcome, Dr. Lou. Welcome.
So our first question is, can you just tell us and everyone listening a little bit about your background, how you got started, and a little bit about when you were a student over here and what that was like?
Okay, sure. So I started at the dental school in 1978. And at the time it was called the College of Medicine and Dentistry. And in my junior year, they changed the name to the University of Medicine and Dentistry. And, the first 2 years of dental school are kind of, it's all didactic, it's all classroom work, there's almost no clinic work. And then the third year, you start getting into the clinic. And that's when I started to gravitate towards periodontal treatment. I liked what was done with the patients. I liked the faculty. It was very scientific. So when I graduated in 1982, I then worked a year just as a regular dentist, and then I applied to the postgraduate program, which I was accepted to in 1983. And I graduated from, it was UMDNJ at the time. I graduated from the periodontal department and received my specialty certificate in 1985. And that's how all that went. And then I actually taught there I was a part-time faculty member. I taught a half a day a week from 1985 to 2000. And so I taught for 16 years, believe it or not. And then I left the school, and for the past maybe 6 or 7 years, I go down 2 or 3 times a year and I lecture to mostly the dental students. I've given some lectures to faculty members, but I give lectures mostly to the dental students down there.
That's great. So one of the common themes throughout all of these has been sort of adjusting to life during the pandemic. And I assume being up close and personal with patients, you've probably had to experience some change in the way you practice. So could you tell us a little bit about how you had to change your practice during the pandemic?
Sure, but it's not really, believe it or not, it's not really been a big change for us because, when if I go back to my dental education career, when I was in dental school, there were no gloves, no masks, no nothing. Okay, it just didn't exist. And when I was a resident in my first year, there were also no gloves, no masks. So you basically went into the clinic and you would wash your hands when you were done working on a patient. But in 1984, the first HIV cases were diagnosed in New Jersey at University Hospital. And some of those patients were treated in the periodontal clinic. So our program director at the time said, we should start wearing gloves. And it wasn't really mandated, but, some of us did, some of us didn't. And I started wearing gloves, and I kind of liked it because it helped the fact that I didn't have to wash my hands as much. The gloves protected me. So then when I graduated, I continued on with that. And then we started wearing masks. So I've always worn gloves and a mask, my whole career. And I wear also a disposable gown, like over my clothing. I'm not a scrub guy, so I wear a disposable gown. And now what we've done now, just to enhance that, I wear a different mask. I wear an N95 mask or a KN95 mask, and sometimes I put a regular, what's called a level 3 mask over that. I wear glasses when I work, so I tried wearing a shield. It just doesn't work for me. I couldn't see really well. Still use the disposable. We take the gowns off frequently. And then what we do, it's like almost everyone else, we don't really have anybody in the waiting room. So patients come to the office, They call our staff. They say they're here. They come in. We take their temperature. They have to use hand sanitizer first, and then we bring them into the treatment room. And then we have them rinse with, actually have it here. We actually have them rinse with peroxol. It's like a hydrogen peroxide-based mouth rinse. We used to have patients rinse with chlorhexidine, which is a like antibacterial mouth rinse, but that's not really virucidal. So now we switch to peroxol. So we have them rinse, and then it's off to the races. Now, the problem for a dentist is that a lot of times we're using, like for me, I use a handpiece, which has water to cool it. So you generate an aerosol spray, which is not great. And then we have a Cavitron, which is an ultrasonic device that you use to clean someone's teeth. So now I have an assistant. So my assistant has a high-speed suction, and we actually just keep it right on the device we're using to limit the aerosol spray. And then our hygienist, I'm not in one of the hygiene rooms, but our hygienist, what we do now is we have this, it's like an arm, and it's attached to the suction unit, and it has like a little, almost like a funnel on it. And that funnel, when she's working with something that's creating the aerosol spray, that funnel goes right by the patient's mouth. So it evacuates the aerosol spray into the room, into the unit. And then we also have in each treatment room, not in the waiting room, we have in each treatment room, we have a portable, like a air filtration unit. So it filters the air, it sucks it into the unit, blows it out the back, but there's a UV light in there, and it should kill, whatever microbes are in there. So, and then we also schedule more time between appointments. So we give the girls more time to, the whole room is wiped down. We use these, Clorox wipes. We wipe down the chair, the armrest. When the patient leaves, if someone happened to sit in the waiting room, we wipe the chair they were sitting in. We wipe the door handle after they leave. So, but it's a little challenging now. It's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, I think it's great that people can hear sort of some of what the preparations and the safety measures that are being taken place by different practitioners. Because I imagine there's a lot of people who have some trepidation about seeking treatment, dental or medical, and it probably makes them feel much better to know that that these precautions are taking place. What guidance would you give for people who, as I said, have a little trepidation about seeking treatment, and if they can't seek treatment, how can they sort of maintain good oral health in this time period?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So we tell patients, we got a lot of phone calls. We still get them, and people are concerned. I actually had a woman in today for an emergency, and she's an older woman. I've been seeing her for years and years, and she desperately wants to get her teeth cleaned. But she said, I just don't want to come back. I don't feel comfortable. And I tried to reassure her, but I said to her, listen, if you don't feel comfortable, then you shouldn't come. You only should come if you feel comfortable. So we try to allay people's fears and tell them that it's a safe environment, because we want it safe for the patients and for me and my staff. And as far as what to do at home, it's really in lieu of getting your teeth cleaned regularly. See, the thing is, I'm a periodontist, so most of the patients that come back here for regular care, they come back here every 3 or 4 months because they've had history of periodontal disease or periodontitis. So they're different than people who've never had that. They're more susceptible to the plaque, which causes this periodontal disease. So what we tell those patients, you really have to practice extra home care. So you have to execute proper brushing and flossing techniques, or however you clean your teeth, because there's many different ways in which you can clean, especially in between your teeth. So we tell patients, in lieu of getting here, you just have to really, really good oral hygiene. You really can't slack off. And I've had a few patients that have had trouble because of the lack of care, but not a lot. Just to go back, if I could digress, my wife and I were on vacation early in March. We went away the first week in March. And when I got back, we went to Puerto Rico. And when I got back, that night, I was really sick. I had a high fever. I had sweating, chills. So Friday, I don't work. I was off Saturday and Sunday. And Monday was, believe it or not, that Monday, I guess it was March 10th or 11th, that was the first day in my entire working career that I ever missed because I was ill. Knock wood, I'm lucky I don't get sick. So I missed the entire week. That Saturday, I went to urgent care for a test, and they told me I had the flu. I was diagnosed with the flu. So the following week, I felt better, and I went to work like Thursday. So I missed the next week a couple of days. So I went to work Thursday, part Wednesday have a day, and Thursday. But I still didn't feel great. Saturday, I went back to the doctor, and he tested me for COVID. So then I couldn't work the following week because I was a patient under investigation. I was a PUI, okay? So I couldn't go back to work. And then I found out the test was negative on that Wednesday. So then everything shut down. So yeah. I worked 2 days in March. I didn't work in April. And the last week in May, we saw a couple of patients do a dry run, and then we opened up in June. So basically, I was kind of out of the office for 3 months. So, I had a couple patients have trouble. During the COVID crisis, April and May, I did go in the office for emergencies. You try to handle emergencies on the phone, but, sometimes people call you and they're in pain. And so, I had to go in, and, that was kind of a dicey time for me because my youngest daughter gave birth to her second child in April. So we were helping babysit our other granddaughter, and I kind of didn't want to go out of the office. I didn't want to go to the office. I didn't want to go out of the house because I didn't want to bring anything to her residence. But, I was compelled to treat these patients. So that was a pretty dicey time. So, but now things are pretty much back to normal. The practice is pretty much running like it was. Like I said before, we just take a little bit longer time period, and but it's pretty much back to normal.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm sorry.
So,
go ahead.
So that brings us to our next segment, which is called the IP&O From Home Zone. Which is basically a 3-round trivia game. And what we've been doing is, like, depending on who the guest is, it's like specific trivia tailored to them. So we had one guy who worked for the Rutgers basketball team. So we asked him all basketball trivia. So we were thinking of like what we would ask you, and we're like, all right, well, it has to be something like teeth related, but like we didn't want to get too like scientific because that would be too easy because you would know all that. So we
wouldn't.
Yeah, and we don't know what we're talking about. So we kind of came up with like tooth related trivia. So you'll see.
Okay.
So the first question is, how wide is the Statue of Liberty's mouth? Is it A, 3 feet, B, 25 feet, C, 16 feet, or D, 10 feet?
So I've been to the Statue of Liberty, obviously. So I'm going to say 3 or 10 feet. Can I phone a friend?
Yeah, sure. First time for everything.
I'm going to say 10 feet.
Oof, close. It was 3 feet.
3 feet, okay.
You're in the
small.
ballpark.
It sounds small. It definitely, that surprised me. Yeah, when we first read the question, I thought it would be like I literally said 25 feet because that's why I put that guess. I thought it would have been huge, but I guess
All right. Well, that brings us to question 2, which is potentially going to horrify you, but we're going to ask it anyway. Here we go. What percentage of the adult population of North America were toothless 100 years ago? Is it A, 10%, B, 25%, C, 50%, or D, 65%?
I would say 65%.
I mean, that is close. It's 50%, but that was a shocking stat.
it feels like 100 years really isn't that long ago for half of all of the people there to not have teeth.
I think it is for dentistry. I'll let the doctor chime in on that.
You know, back in the day, like sometimes people had like heart disease or other ailments, and part of it, sometimes the treatment was to remove all their teeth.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that moves us to question number 3. All right. So, which one of these celebrities did not have any front teeth? They wore a bridge. Was it A, Marilyn Monroe, B, James Dean, C, Marlon Brando, or D, Judy Garland? No front teeth.
They had no front teeth. I think I'm going to say, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. I think it's Marlon Brando.
It was actually James Dean.
Oh, man.
Which is amazing because he has this reputation for being this heartthrob, but he did not have his front teeth.
Wow.
Well, thank you for participating in that, though.
No problem.
All right, and then I think that wraps up this episode. Dr. Lou, thanks for coming on and for giving us some insight about what your world's been like these past few months. And I think you definitely also qualmed some fears for people who might be afraid to go into offices like that.
People should go. If you should go back to the dentist, you should go back to your doctor. You got to get back into it, because I think staying away, it's more dangerous than going. So, all right. Good talking to you guys.
Thanks again for coming on.
All right, no problem. Bye-bye now.